I actually looked back at my notes from before I got hired, and I had like my three big goals, and it was like one was just just slow down. I think that was like the first note. Slow down. You can't do everything. Take your
Yes.
time and just focus on really relationship building,
Yeah.
and the rest will come.
Hello, friends, and welcome to season 6 of the Future Ready Librarian podcast series, Leading from the Library. This is a podcast for all librarians wherever you are in your journey. It is filled with amazing guests, important topics, and engaging conversations that will inspire, engage, and support all of us as future ready librarians. I am your host, Shannon McClintock Miller. I am the district teacher librarian at Van Meter Community in Van Meter, Iowa, and I serve as the Future Ready Librarian spokesperson. I have the pleasure of working within my library and school community and also with others around the country and world through Future Ready Librarian events, conferences, consulting, writing, and more. I am honored to bring these voices and the work of others to our podcast and to all of you. Tonight, I'm really excited to welcome someone that I recently got to spend some time with at FETC. And when I met Lauren, I could not wait to ask her to come to the podcast. So welcome, Lauren.
Hi. Ooh, my voice is kind of cracking. Hi, Shannon. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be with you again. It's great to see you.
I know, it's so good to see you too. And I just love following what you do on social. And it was so fun to be with you at FETC and just to hear all the things that I think as a new, library media specialist, like all the things that we do, but hearing someone that is new and like the energy, I think is just so great too. So I'm
Too
so
bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
happy.
It's so funny because usually I feel like I'll meet people online and then connect with them in person, but we kind of met first in person, and so now we're getting together to do this, and it's so cool because like I know her.
No, I love it. I love it so much. And let's just start by having you introduce yourself to everyone and tell about your role and kind of what you did before, too.
Oh, sure. So, hi everybody. Again, my name is Lauren Mobley. I'm a school librarian media specialist in Atlanta, Georgia at North Clayton Middle School. And I serve about over 800 students, grades 6 through 8. I work with the kids, trying to get them reading, working with the teachers. And before, it's actually my second year in the school library. Before, I taught English and I taught special education at the high school level. So I'm new to the library position and I'm new to the middle school. And it has been a fun, rocky road of just adventure and, fun reading, technology stuff, all that good research goodies.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And I love that you're in Georgia. So many great people there and in Atlanta. So I always love keeping up with all of you. And just reading through, like I always have our guests write things that they're passionate about and topics that they want to talk about. And one that really stood out for me when I was reading through Lauren's was how do you change the perception of the library? And I thought this was really interesting because the things, especially as a new librarian, that we think of, getting kids into our library and collaboration and doing all the things with technology, like those are things that definitely will change the perception. And so just like take a step back 2 years when you started in the library. And so talk about what that means to you, like changing the perception of your library.
It was so important to me to change the perception, just because I knew from my coursework and from my own experience, being a student and how we thought about the library, and I just really wanted it to be a fun place because honestly, before I even got hired, I would listen to School Librarians United podcast with Amy Herman all the time, and she'd be interviewing these people and talk about how fun their library was. And I was like, oh my God, I have got to make my media center the place to be. It's got to be fun like this. And so when I first got hired and I went into the school, And I was like, ooh, it's a little, no shade. It's a little dingy in here. We have to make it fun and fun and bright and want everybody to come be a part of it. And so it was really important for me to change the perception to be a place where everybody wanted to be at. We always talk about the library being, the heart of the school. And so you've got to get that blood pumping and those people in there um all the time and just having a good time and not just necessarily reading but seeing all the amazing things that are possible by being in the space and the resources that are available for them to take outside.
Yeah. So as you started changing it, like were the kids just so excited to have you and have their library?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So when I first started my first year, I had like a big party in the library. I was
Awesome.
like, I was like, we're not doing orientation. We're doing like a party, like a luau. And so like I decorated the whole media center into like this Hawaiian theme because they were cheap at Dollar Tree. And and had like a boatload of candy and had like games like hula hoops and just all types of fun stuff like beach chairs. Like I tried to make it like legit a luau. Like I made these huge trees out of paper. Anyways, I'm not saying I'll do that again, but that was my my mentality going into it. Like I'm gonna have like a huge party, and I had the classes come in, and it was crazy. But that set the tone because that really set the tone because they're like, "Oh, this is fun." I'm like, "Yes, it is. I got you,
Yeah. I've
tricked you."
hooked you. Yeah. Hooked you and now you're going to come back again.
Right. And so,
Oh,
having those having games out for them to do too has been really helpful. Even my kids who I'm trying to push more into reading, they'll come and play the games. So, I got you in here and now I can kind of side side talk you. Let me show you what else I got.
well, and especially middle school kids, like they're at that age where they think they don't need us, but they do. And so the things like games and having conversations and things that you can bring in like fun little things, that is what really hooks them then to be interested or listen to what you have on your shelves. And that's what it takes sometimes.
Middle schoolers are so funny. And really I feel like they just want to be heard.
Yes, they
Want them to say they're
do.
special and that you like their bracelets. Whatever. Like, oh, she likes me. I do. I do like you.
Oh, I
I'm gonna come
love.
back and see you tomorrow.
Yeah, I think that is so awesome. Well, and what about the teachers? Like, were they used to having a librarian to collaborate with, or is that something that was new to them too?
No, no, that was very new to them. And it's so funny because when I started, picking up the pace and making those connections and those relationships with teachers, so they wanted to come in and I have classes. And there's like, I guess, other positions at the school who would kind of use the media center because there were never classes in there. So they come set up or have their meetings in there and stuff. And I'm like, no, I have a class coming. I'm gonna y'all. This is a community space, of course, but I'm sorry, you guys are gonna have to move because I have a class now. So in the future, I can put you on my calendar.
That's awesome. Yeah, I can do this too with you. Oh, that's great. And I'm sure, I mean, we've all been one to one forever. And so I'm sure that technology, especially in a middle school, is a big part of it. And is that a big part of your role as the librarian, the tech piece?
So okay, it is and it isn't. The instructional technology pieces, yes, I'll try to support teachers and support them with their lessons, give them resources, things like that. And I say yes and no because when I first started, I was so, what's the word? Naive? I don't know. I wasn't trying to be like super friendly and build these relationships with everybody. So I was like, oh yeah, I'll help you with this. I'll do the Chromebooks. But we have a tech, kinda. We have a tech. Um, So we have a technician who does all the Chromebook stuff because the school's one to one. And I was like doing way more than I needed to. And so now I'm kind of like backing up and I'm like, this is the tech stuff because you kind of wear me out. But I mean, like my first year when I was trying to get in there and figure out what I was doing and balance everything and make those connections, it was okay. But now that I have like a lot more library responsibilities and classes and things like that, I'm like backing off of it. So no and yes. But
Yeah.
I will say I do have like for testing, I do a lot of Chromebook stuff. That's my responsibility. I give out loaners sometimes, that's my responsibility. But for the most part, a lot less Chromebook than it used to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that's a big part of a lot of librarians, job. And especially as you start and you want to like learn about your collection, learn about your readers, and learn about the programming that you do. It's nice that you have time to do that too.
Mhm. Just
Yeah.
trying to like take it all in and do everything. But then also I actually looked back at my notes from before I got hired and I had like my three big goals and it was like one was just, just slow down. I think that was like the first note. Slow down. You can't do everything. Take your
Yes.
time and just focus on really relationship building.
Yeah.
And the rest will come.
Yeah, that is the one of the most important things. I tell people that all the time. Like the relationship is one of the most important, if not the most important thing, because collaboration, connecting kids to books, getting in, with teachers and making those relationships so important is something that can truly make a difference, I think.
Right. I think too, because like I have a flexible schedule. So if the teachers don't like me or they don't know me, they're not bringing their classes in there to work with me. So it's really important to have those relationships and have that trust between us.
Did you come from a different district or were you in the same district that you're in now?
I'm in the same district.
Yeah, so that's nice too, because then they knew like who you were and that makes a difference too. So that's
Hmm.
good. Now, when you think about too, like your, it's only your second year and people that are listening, especially people that are starting out or even people who have been in the profession for a long time, you personally have done a great job too, just making those connections online, like building your PLN, being active on social, making those connections again and those relationships. So what advice could you give others on how that worked for you, how you grew that?
Oh yeah, so I really love social media. And it can
Too.
feel kind of isolating, being the only librarian in your school. Like everybody else has their department and their meetings and stuff, and I'm kind of on an island. So I have these relationships, but essentially I'm the only one who knows what who really knows what I do and really is gonna, crowd me over these books that's a torn page. But anyways, so it's great to have those connections online. I'm diehard about Twitter and trying to get more into Instagram, but I've made so many great friends all over the country just by interacting. So like I feel like I when I started getting online, I would of course follow people and started commenting. And then I started sharing. So I think that's the biggest part. Just sharing your glows and grows, share those fails because it just makes so much more personable. And of course, it's your little social media for, appearance or whatever. But, be authentic and share, share, share. You got to post because when you go on somebody's page and it's like they're not posting anything, it's like, come
Yeah.
on, we want to see who you are. And
And
that's,
people,
the key to making those friendships.
yeah, and it's so like I'm in a library. I'm the only one in my whole district. And so for me, I have a library associate and which is amazing and wonderful, but for me, like just growing as a librarian, like way back when I started, that was probably the best like PD for me ever because I learned so many things, not just from librarians, but from educators, from companies, from publishers, like Twitter has been something that I am so thankful that I like took that plunge, I don't know, I've been on there probably for like 14 years now, I bet 13 years. And so it's really amazing how many opportunities that brings to people too, which I love.
Getting those author retweets or seeing that an author like something I said about that book, like, oh, that's a win.
I
They know I'm
know.
alive.
Well, and that's how like we have brought so many like virtual things to our kids and just opportunities. And that's how like, like what do you have to lose? Just reach out and ask people things. And it is something that they're on Twitter because they want to be as well. And so usually that's the great thing. And I love Instagram too. So that's a fun one too. I love it. Oh,
All
so
great ideas.
I know. What are your big like goals? Like, now we're into March, it's almost April, and we're going to get out of school before we know it. So what are your big goals like for next year? Do you have things in mind that you just can't even wait to do?
Yeah, so I was just thinking about how I really need to be more like I talked about relationships, but I need to work on my consistency, I feel like, as far as with scheduling the classes. So I'm kind of all over the place and can be kind of, what is it, like scatterbrained? I don't want to say that. Squirrel? Maybe that too. But being more consistent about, okay, your class came in and checked out books on this day. Let's do it again in 2 weeks on this day. And like being more consistent about that. That's one of my big goals because
Good
I
one.
have a lot of classes that come in, but it's not like a schedule. Which I kind of like, it's good to be
Yeah.
flexible, but
Yeah.
I want to have the more consistency. Um, that's one of my big goals. Just being more consistent and having fun, getting, really increasing reading, trying to
Yeah.
build a culture of reading through and through at my school.
Yeah, I love that you say that because I think that anyone can be in a library, like showing kids books and, promoting things or buying new books for our collections. But building that culture of reading is something that will instill in our kids, and they have it to take away with them too when they leave our schools and leave our libraries as well. So that's something that we can really impact. I love that. You're doing amazing things, my friend.
Thank you, Shannon. I'm out here trying, Shannon. You inspire me. I appreciate you so much.
Oh, I appreciate you too. And for everyone listening, I love it when people like leave our listeners with, a little piece of advice. So for those starting out, if they're in their second or first, or maybe they're starting in a library even this upcoming year, what piece of advice do you have to leave them with today?
Ooh, okay. So I think my big piece of advice is that you are not alone. That you need to find your people, find your tribe, and really connect with others, whether it be in your district or reaching out on social media. That's where I, really get my energy from and my pickups. Like if I have a bad day, they're there to support me. So really, really making those connections is my best piece of advice. Make connections because they're gonna have so many ideas you can steal, first of all.
I love it.
And two, they're gonna keep you uplifted.
Yes, it's so true. And people will want to follow you. So where do they follow you at?
Oh, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Mobley in the Mix. Also have a website, mobleyinthemix.com. It might need a little bit of updates. But yes, that's where you can find me, Mobley in the Mix, because I'm all over the place. I'm in the mix.
I love it. I love the name.
Thank you.
How much. Thank you so much for just everything that you do, and we'll be watching you. So I'm glad that you've been on the podcast today. We're just inspired by everything that you have to share. So I will make sure that I share Lauren's information, and it will be attached to this podcast along with a certificate of professional development that you can download and fill out to use. As always, thank you to all of our listeners for joining us for this episode of the Future Ready Librarian podcast series, Leading from the Library. And a very special thank you to our sponsors, Follett. You make a difference in our library, schools, and within our lives, and that of our students every day. We appreciate everything that you do. I hope you can take what you learned in today's podcast and put it to use within your practice as a future-ready librarian. Until next time, friends, keep finding ways to lead within and from your library.